Hey, if you're interested in having great food plots and habitat, pay attention to my 10 Commandments of food plots. I was just reading the Bible earlier this morning, it's on a Sunday, and I was thinking about the 10 Commandments and how difficult it is to follow them. And then I started listing some commandments about habitat and food plots. So here goes, okay? Commandment number 1, you shall locate your food plots where the soil is good. So locate your food plots in an area that you can make a food plot. Sometimes there's a reason why there's no field there. And the early farmers knew where the good soil was, and that's where they put the fields. So don't fight it, okay? In other words, pick the best soils on your property to install a food plot. Second commandment, you shall increase your soil organic matter as well as your pH. Your pH is always going to be very low in the woods. So if your pH is low, you got to bring in lime. Once you get your soil pH straightened out and you get your organic matter up to 5 or above percent, you don't have to worry about fertility anymore because you're going to have healthy soil. Which brings us to the next one, which is you shall keep living roots in the soil at all times. By keeping living roots in the soil 365 days a year, you're going to feed that organic matter and all the soil biota that's beneath the surface of the soil. Keep in mind that there's more life below the surface of the soil than what's above it. A lot of species of stuff down there and a lot more biomass than you could ever imagine. And that's where organic matter comes from. There's the processes that go on down below. Okay, so the next one, thou shalt not till the soil. Don't till your soil unless you absolutely have to. Now, when I started food plotting, the first thing I did was I went out and bought a 3-bottom plow and started mold boarding, say that 10 times fast, tilling my soil, which worked out pretty good for what I needed to get done because I was converting an old field that was full of some pretty nasty stuff and a lot of pine roots and thick grass and ferns and sweet fern, which is kind of a stemmy type of fern. I had to get rid of that stuff somehow. So I plowed it under and then I tilled it and I tilled it and I tilled it until I ended up with smooth soil. And then I started planting warm season cover crops in there and trying different things. And next thing you know, I had a really productive field in that spot. So to start out with, think about tillage, but as you go forward, you want to eliminate tillage as much as you possibly can, okay? Thou shalt not plant monocultures, okay? So I talked about this the other day in one of my videos where a lot of times people will plant brassica plots. Brassica plots absolutely suck. Don't do it. It's not even a good plant. It's not anything other than a candy crop. And if you want to plant pure oats, pure rye, pure brassicas, not good, because if it doesn't work for some reason, or if the deer have something better to eat in the area, they're not going to touch it anyway. So what you want to do is have a buffet there. If you go out to a restaurant, you go down to the Chinese buffet there, you don't want Kung Pao chicken and that's all. You want crabs and you want some chicken and you want some, what else is in a Chinese restaurant? I like the General Tso chicken. And you want that salad bar, okay? You want a lot of different things in the same spot. Anytime during the year, one of those items, even weeds, are going to be more palatable than the others. Deer know what they need, and bucks and does at different times of the year, they need different things. They know how to go out and choose what they need. What has the most phosphorus, for instance? What has the most protein? So early in the season, you might want heavy protein. You're growing antlers and growing fawns and milk. You need that protein, and later on you might need something else. I've seen it where a buck will come in and a doe will come into a food plot, and one will pick the chicory out, and the other one will eat nothing but oats, or one will eat the brassica and the other one will eat the oats. It all depends on what they need. It's best to have it all in one location so that they can always be sure to find what they want at that spot, okay? Because you want them coming in there every single day. Okay, what else do I have? You shall not hunt on your food plots. You will always find that if you hunt on your food plots, you see a lot of deer that first night, second night, a few less, third night, maybe a couple of fawns, and then after that, you don't see anything. So hunt deer on their way to the food. Try to separate your food from your cover, your bedding areas and your sanctuaries. Hunt in between. Very simple. You shall use clover as your base food, okay, your base plant. If you're just starting out in food plotting, get some clover on there. It's the one thing that will always grow. Deer will always eat it. It always covers the soil really well and provides nitrogen. It's a good soil builder. Always have it in your mixes, and always have it, if nothing else will grow, that's the one thing that will always grow. You shall not mow your perennials. Don't mow your clover. You don't have to. There's no reason to mow it unless you are mowing weed heads off. If you have a lot of weeds and they're starting to bolt and go to seed, then you need to mow it. But you don't need to mow clover to make it more productive. It doesn't make it more productive. Thou shalt maintain your food plots with spray, mowing, and frost seeding. Every spring and March, you want to throw a little more seed on there. Add chicory, add some oats if you want, add even brassicas in the spring. Okay, I know I just said not to mow, but if you have to, then you have to. You know, you have to keep your weeds under control, and you have to spray. You also want to, the last commandment is to wean yourself off of soil inputs. Like if you are spending money on a lot of chemicals, try to wean yourself off of that. You don't have to use them. I have clients who don't want any of that stuff sprayed on their fields. They don't want it in their deer meat, and they just don't want it, and they do fine. Especially now is a great time to talk about that because glyphosate has doubled in value. All right, the price has doubled. So if you're out there buying glyphosate, you're going to wish that you bought it last year because it's really expensive. Just wean yourself off. You don't need it. You can use plants to control weeds. You can use plants to build up your soil so you don't need fertilizer. Fertilizer will acidify your soil. It will kill the soil biota, and you don't want it, okay? Try to get away from fertilizer altogether. You can use, there's more nitrogen in the atmosphere than you could ever use. Oxygen is another thing that's needed. That's something that's abundant in the atmosphere, and you can get that into your soil by creating good, healthy soil that has good tilth. In other words, if it has structure and air pockets, and there's wormholes and insect rooting around, and there's lots of roots in the soil, and then they die and leave holes, that's how your air gets down there. And then your roots can go deeper, and your soil biology can survive, okay? You need aerobic soils, okay? Carbon. Carbon comes from the atmosphere, comes from this, is created and manufactured in plants, and it is pumped back down into the soil, and that's how your soil becomes high carbon, high humus, and you get that nice dark layer that's inches deep. You want it to be like that. You don't want it to be like that. All right, so that's your 10 commandments. I think it was 10. keep some of those in mind. And if you don't understand how to achieve some of those, then just keep watching my channel. Go back to my playlist, my food plot playlist, and search through there. I'm trying to provide as much information about soil health, good plants to grow, and getting carbon out of the atmosphere and into the ground and into your trees, so we can help with climate change without doing stupid things like getting rid of fossil fuels. There's better ways to do it. We do it through farming, and you be one of the good guys and farm correctly on your land. All right, talk to you later.